Hello, friends and comrades. It's me, Verka Setochka's long-lost sister, and welcome back to Ostriv and to our beautiful, financially stable town. So, it has been the last time skip, and it has been 25 videos in this series. This is the 25th, and this will be the last chapter of our town's journey. And as such, I would like to take you all on a little journey through our town, through a little bit of history of the town, the trials and tribulations of how we got here, showing some of the sights, as well as discussing some of the technicalities for people who might be interested in how to get a financially stable Ostriv town. So it's a mix of everything. Right, so let's begin. It all began, 33 years ago. And we moved in, and we had a promising start, and then immediately a crash landing. The first few steps was not great, struggling a little bit. And then the village started to grow, the town started to grow. And they applied a policy of going into massive debt. They went over 20,000 gold in debt by just buying things in debt and paying our citizens in debt. And it looked like we were just going to be in debt forever. Our exports were not covering it. And then we decided we're going to switch and become a communist utopia. And we have done that. And through doing that, we have climbed out of poverty, we have elevated everybody's status, and everybody has access to everything. Now, how did we do that? How did we do it? Well, when someone joins our town, they surrender their gold to the community, but they get to keep all of their possessions, and if you ever need anything, you just go to the market and you get it for free. And there's plenty of jobs to go around in our town. People can swap jobs out, which they usually do. There's a lot of jobs that only need to be done for a limited amount of time. So people actually spend a lot of time relaxing as well. It's a beautiful world, really. It's a beautiful world. So let's take a look around. First, we have our town center. This is where people first joined our town. They had a couple tents. It was just a very shabby looking thing, and then they started building all of these houses in a little circle, and that's when we decided they would have a circular town design. And the town center also features some of the most crucial buildings. It has the town hall, where the mayor exists and the builders and all of the decisions are made. It has the big church, which elevated our town from village status to town status and really allowed people to move in after reaching a certain number of people. It has a granary. It has the trading post, one of our two trading posts. This heart of the town also features some essential workers, such as some foresters, smithies, a carpenter, and also some warehouses. So it's very varied. It also includes a small market, which was kind of the first market. We're going to call it Old Market. And then our town began to grow. So the first big growth was over to the north when we started expanding with a little bit of farmland. And let's just take a look at how this has evolved over time. So the entire northwest side of town is surrounded by this array of fields, which supply pretty much all of the town's food, as well as supplies for some industrial production. And these have just grown over time. This has just grown like a beautiful fan surrounding the entire town. And of course, it also features two districts where people live. So this is the densest and most decorated district. And of course, we only have one class of person. There is no upper class or lower class. So opportunities equal for everybody in our little communist utopia. And this was kind of when the desire was huge for more and more people, a lot of land was cleared to make room for all of these houses. And they also have this beautiful market. This is the town's most beautiful market. It's well decorated with trees that were planned, and it also features wells and a little chapel where people can meet their religious needs. There's plenty of benches to sit down. 6 market stalls. 2 of them are currently not activated because there isn't such high demand. And also flanked by granaries. So supplies are ready to go, ready to sell, and everybody can just get whatever they want, as I said, for free. Now let's take a look at our second living district. This is the second district in the western side of town. This is the newest district. This was just built in the last few years, and so have these fields to finish the little loop that goes around. And this is essentially another farming district. People live very comfortably, and they've also expanded with 2 market stalls here, just to supply everybody with everything they need. Now, let's take a journey across the river. But first, let's talk about what are these little pop-ups? Families out of money. Surely that's a bad thing. Well, you would think that, but actually, turns out being out of money isn't bad if you don't need money for anything. So how did we achieve this little communist utopia in mechanics wise? Well, here's what we did. So the wages are just kept really low. There's at 1 gold, and the rent is just put really, really high, like a ridiculously high amount. And then the market products are at 0%, meaning they are free. So everybody can get anything they ever need in the market. And in essence, when they join the town, literally they just, in the first month, they pay their 10 gold that they brought. And then they essentially just get, 1 gold per month per working adult. And then they just pay the rest of the gold. And they keep reporting that they don't have enough money because the rent is so high, but you're not actually evicting them if they can't pay it. It's really convenient. So you don't have to worry about people being evicted. Because they can afford anything. The only reason that they would leave is if they wouldn't get food, or if they wouldn't get, well, basically food is kind of the main thing. Food and water, they just need access to that. And as long as it's free in the market, they don't need any money. It's very convenient, very lovely, beautiful, gorgeous, stunning. So yeah, that's just how we mechanically did it. And it seems to really work. And the main thing that it does is that it prevents people from accruing wealth, because normally there's 2 ways that the economy works, and this will come into play when we talk about this industrial zone that we have here. So one of the main things that I noticed playing this game is that it's something that makes more sense if you think about it in real terms, but it's not something we're used to from games, and that is that you don't just generate money. So in a game like Foundation, for example, you build markets and people will go to the markets and they'll buy stuff. And that's how money just gets created. Like, people don't have their own money. They just, when they go to get some bread at the market, you get, they take the bread out and you get that gold. But they don't have a limited supply of gold. They just, whenever they need a bread, they just spawn 10 gold for you in return for a bread. And in this game, that is not the case. The loop is closed, so essentially the wealth that they have is the wealth that you have. And that is a huge problem. That can be a huge problem for somebody if you're not used to this, like I was. And that's why we went into such massive debt. So essentially, the way that the whole closed loop that I'm going to say, there's two ways that the money changes hands. There's your closed loop inside of your town, and then there's the import-export, the trading. So in your closed loop in your town, people join your town, you've got your money that you started with, and then when they join the town, they also get 10 gold that they bring, and that's the money that you have. If you take away trading with other towns, that's all of the money that exists. You pay people wages, and they pay you taxes, and they buy stuff in the market. And that's the same money. It just moves hands constantly. But the thing is, as it is by default, you're always paying people more wages than they're giving you back in rent and in market products, which means you're essentially constantly draining your money, and you're getting a population that has a lot more wealth. So our wealth distribution is currently, everybody's at 0 to 5, which is desired. And before we turned to communism, we had some people who had like 400 gold, 500 gold. Other people had like 0 to 5 gold. And they were just accruing that wealth. They weren't using it because they constantly had more gold than they needed. It's kind of a very good analogy for the real world. And yeah, so that essentially drains your town's money, and it goes towards these people who aren't putting it anywhere else. So that's how you keep being forced to use the external loop, the external trade loop, which is trading. So with that one, you have your little trading post and your trading dock, and that's the only way that you can actually get more money in the town. If you import something, you're essentially deleting money. And if you export something, if you sell it, then you're creating money. That's the only way that you can actually generate it. So, yeah, that's the thing that I didn't realize until very late, that the only way you generate more money is by exporting it. Otherwise, you're just losing it. And what we were doing is we were both importing and exporting, and that was kind of keeping it at a balance. It wasn't really, because we were just importing indiscriminately. But even if you import and export the same amount of stuff, like you buy 100 gold worth of stuff and you sell 100 gold worth of stuff, you're still going to be losing money because you're still paying your workers more and you're draining your economy. So what we needed to do was we essentially needed to make sure that we are just exporting. And you can see here, exports giving us a lot of money. You can see here, salary cost us 3,159. Housing rent cost us gives us back 3,188. So we are not losing anything, but it's kind of even. And then export is the only way that you actually make a profit. So that's the story. That's the story of how we did it mechanically and how we actually got to have a positive balance again. So if you're finding yourself broke in Ostriv, that's just a little tip. Essentially, to boil it down to simple advice, just keep the wages really low, keep the rent high, give everything to everyone for free. That's the best way to do it. And then the only way you can generate money is by selling stuff. And don't buy stuff you don't need. That's another thing that I realized. Like, some things are, like, they sound cool to have, but you don't actually need them in order to operate your town. So I just stopped buying them. Like honey. I was like, we have to have honey. I love bees. But actually, honey is just another food. So you're essentially spending money to get it, and then you're giving it to people for free. And even if you didn't give it to people for free, if your market product price was more than 0, you still are not actually generating new money by selling it to people. You're just getting some of your money that you paid in wages back. It's very silly. But yeah, let's continue our tour of the town across the river. So one of the earliest things that they realized when they were building the village is that they needed to expand across the river. And they created this beautiful walkway lined with these decorative trees all the way around, as we can see. And they decided to build, first it was just residential area, but then they also wanted to provide jobs for all of those people living there. So that's what we see in the middle here. So it is an industrial zone of various industries, from oil workshops, tailors' workshops, weavers' workshops, to shoemakers, and to all sorts of people. There's the shoemaker, and so on. And of course, it also has its own little markets. Now, this was the first time that they decided that they're going to make a planned market. So it has a little fence, it has a little arch, and it also has a well in the middle, some benches to sit on. It's not as decorated as the one that we saw above, because that one was newer, a newer project. And then we could also look over here, which was their second market that was added to the this side of the river. And again, it features 4 stalls, some benches. This time it has decorative trees, benches to look at the trees, and of course, a well. And it also features, in addition to more industry, stone mining camp, stable, so on. What's that? a wagon shed. It also features a graveyard where they can bury their dead. Some burial plots for the people who have died, who have worked in our town. And again, has some benches so people can chill, both on the outside and on the inside of this little cemetery. And there's this beautiful array of roads that looks kind of like bird poop landed at very high speed, but you know what? We love it. We love it. And then it takes us back across the river where we are doing all the farming. So a lot of the backbone of this place is in the farms, but also to make profits, we needed the industries. So it's a balance. It's a balance between the farming side of town, the residential side of town, and the industrial side of town. It's 3 different districts, and they are all communicating and having a lovely time, just coexisting. Also, this white line spawned at some point. I should have addressed it at the beginning of the video. It happened at some point, and even reloading the game doesn't remove it. So, you know, that's a thing. Thanks, line. Been trying to get rid of it, but I don't know what caused it. So, it just exists. This line is just part of this town. It's just part of town. But yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful communist utopia where nobody starves, nobody has to, you know, actually have wages to survive. Imagine such a world. Imagine it. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's so scenic as well. I love the scenic looks from certain angles. It just looks really stunning, especially when the reflection hits. Also, that's my cat. Hello, cat. Oh, he's sleepy. He's a sleepy boy. Look at that. Lovely. The fields would look lovely if this was spring. It's gonna start snowing soon. But yeah, that's it. Really, the only warnings we get these days are sometimes people say there's not enough food variety. And like maybe that guy for a second was like, there's no water, but like they're surrounded by wells. So they're actually pretty happy. The coins is the only thing, and that doesn't actually have a bearing on the gameplay. So I'm pretty pleased with this town. Pretty pleased with the shape of it. I think it's so lovely. Oh, cat is here. He's gonna comment on the town. What do you think of the town? I think he's happy with the town. Yeah, so thank you guys for joining me on this journey on our beautiful town. Our 25 video journey. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. And if you just came to this video, check out the series, all of the 25 episodes. And if you're not interested in that, I also play a bunch of other city builders, a bunch of other games where we build cities and we tell stories and we just have a lovely time. Quite frankly, I'm very happy to be done with Ostriv for at least a while now. We're probably going to come back to it if there's another update. But now we're going to be doing some other games. I recently uploaded a playthrough from a demo. Maybe I've uploaded something else in the meantime when this video comes out and when it was recorded. And yeah, so just check out some of the stuff that's on screen. And if you like this video, feel free to do all the things that you do when you've liked a video. And you can also, you know, just tell me what you think of the town. And if you want me to play more Ostriv, let me know what we should do next time. Maybe like a challenge or which map to pick or whatever. So yeah. I hope that you enjoyed this. It was a little bit of a different tour. And it's like at the end of a pretty long day, and I wanted to be like, here is the story of our town. And then I realized I didn't actually have a good enough story. But yeah, I hope that you liked it. All right, now there's going to be some stuff on screen. Go click it. To the left, there's YouTube recommendations, and to the right, there's my recommendations. All right. I hope that you have a lovely rest of your life, and I will see you next time. Look at the snow. What a lovely note to end on. Goodbye.